Arsenal have reached an agreement on personal terms, according to Damasio, with Victor Gyokeres. This is another massive report leaning towards a move to the Emirates Stadium. Plus, Alex Crook of TalkSport confirms that Gyokeres expects to become an Arsenal player. We're delving into that. We're looking at Manchester United and a formal contract offer has reportedly been made to the Argentinian goalkeeper to replace Onana between the sticks at Old Trafford. Also, the deal for Nico Williams to Barcelona ever closer after personal terms are agreed. What do Arsenal need to do? Their number one target, by and large, for the past 12 to 18 months on the left wing, going to Barcelona. What does their response need to be? Listen, ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button, get this stream shared. Let's do this. Good morning and welcome back to the Terrace. This is the news from Damasio. Obviously, it's in Italian. It's been translated to English. He states that Gyokeres has an agreement with Arsenal. The Swede will go to London, or in any case, will do nothing but wait for the two clubs to reach an agreement. Of course, that's the direct translation, essentially saying here that an agreement is in place between Gyokeres and Arsenal, confirming another highly credible source confirming the news that he prioritizes Arsenal, that he wants to become an Arsenal player, and is essentially sitting there and waiting for Arsenal and his club to come to an agreement. We know there have been some problems. We know that there have been some, I wouldn't even call it communication issues, but there's certainly been a bit of a standoff between the president of Sporting, the camp of Gyokeres, and the price they have said he could go. The verbal agreement they had, the price, they believe it's a £70 million base. Gyokeres believe it's a euros base. They believe it's a 60 million euros base, and they are still deliberating over that. But a big update also here from Alex Crook on TalkSport. Take a listen to what he had to say this morning.
You got Andy Robertson, Gyokeres, Sesko, Nunez, Isaac. What's the latest on all of these?
Well, again, I had a message 24 hours or so ago suggesting that Victor Gyokeres has told friends and family he expects to join Arsenal. We know that Manchester United are interested in signing him as well. Obviously, there is that pre-existing relationship with Ruben Amorim, but Arsenal can offer Champions League football, maybe can offer a tilt at the title next season. But Sporting are going to play hardball. There's been a fallout between Gyokeres and the club because his agent has suggested that they had a gentleman's agreement he could leave for £60 million. I think they're looking for nearer £80 million. Arsenal juggling both him and Benjamin Sesko. They've open talk with Leipzig as well. But at the moment, I would say Gyokeres looks the more likely. In terms.
So a really interesting update there that Gyokeres, according to Alex Crook, looks the more likely. The stumbling block is the deliberation over the actual price that he will cost. A very different story to what we're hearing and what we're seeing as football fans from Germany. The story in Deutschland is very much that Sesko is the number one. The different reports. Plattenberg has said, who I do find the most credible in Germany, has said that personal terms have not been agreed. There are other outlets that say these terms have been agreed, that the player, very much like Damasio, the player is simply waiting for Arsenal and Sporting to come to an agreement. Now, of course, Gyokeres' camp are working on getting that acceptable price for both parties agreed to. Jorge Mendes, as we spoke about last night on our late night done deal show, is now involved. He is now representing Gyokeres to try and get this deal done. So look, if you're an Arsenal fan who wants Gyokeres, I think it's positive news to know from another credible source that those terms are agreed. We're still no closer to getting universal clarity, universal belief of the number one target that Arsenal have got. But it is a source away from Portugal, away from the are they credible, are they not? Two different sources here. Alex Crook at Talk Sport. You've got Damasio, so there's no direct correlation between them. Of course, Fabrizio Romano, Ben Jacobs, all confirming the news that the player prefers Arsenal or has agreed terms with Arsenal, or personal terms will be no problem. It's his preference. He's rejected others. Depends on the phrases they want to use. But they all very much boil down to the exact same thing. Gyokeres wants Arsenal. What we don't know is whether Arsenal want Gyokeres as their number one target. And I'll be honest with you, I'm up in the air with it. We have Arsenal fans that will come on. They're up in the air with it. Some will go, yep, he absolutely is. Others will say, not a chance. And there's a real dichotomy there. There's no problem whatsoever. And as Arsenal Avenger here says, don't rule them out together. This is true. Rob Land says this is getting tiresome now. Look, I don't necessarily think it. Personally, I don't think it is. I think it's really intriguing. I'm kind of really invested in how Arsenal are negotiating transfers this summer, because it's very different to the way other clubs operate. I don't remember the last time I saw or followed a story so high profile where a club is legitimately negotiating both sides. Because the one thing that you're hearing, what you're not hearing is this. You're not hearing at any point people say, like, nobody's going, I get what you're saying, it's the unknown and waiting. But at no point are you hearing from anybody phrases like, they're negotiating with Šeško. I've heard nothing about Gyokeres. You don't hear Alex Crook say, Gyokeres has told friends and family that he's expecting to join Arsenal. He wants to be an Arsenal player. Alex, what have you heard about the links with Šeško? Nothing. I spoke to 3 different people connected to the player. To Šeško's camp, they say there's no talks. I've spoken to Arsenal, and they say this is all media noise. There's none of that, which tells you they are genuinely working on both these deals. It's such an intriguing approach indeed. But I get the waiting is the waiting is annoying. Terry, is it disappointing? As a Manchester United fan, I'm very disappointed that Gyokeres wants Arsenal over us, but I'm understanding of it. Completely and utterly understanding. I've said it all along. I get it. I understand it. I do hope Arsenal pick Šeško. One, it makes a rival less strong. Still a brilliant signing, though. I don't think Šeško's this bad, overrated player that's not going to have an immediate impact. I really think he'll deliver here in the Premier League. But I would love Arsenal to go in a different direction, to open up Man United's chances again of landing what I believe to be one of the best finishers in world football. So, of course, I'm disappointed. Absolutely. But what I won't do is come on and make content and be biased and horrible and aggressive and start slagging off, and start slagging off what Arsenal are doing. Twisted Bubba here says, morning, Terry. Why so much Arsenal content? 19 other clubs in the league. Well, this show is also going to feature Emi Martinez to United. We went live about Isak last night, and I didn't see you in the comment section. Maybe you were there as an example. Yesterday morning, our lead story was Jadon Sancho. Yesterday afternoon, we were talking about all manner of things as well. We touched yesterday afternoon show. What was the first talking point on that? Because it wasn't Arsenal. The lead on that was the Pedro and Garnacho links to Chelsea were our main lead at the beginning. The fixtures, obviously, we spoke about, but that included Manchester United in them. So, yeah, I mean, tune into that content. It's as simple as that, Twisted. It's as twisted as that. But it's massive news this morning with what Alex Crook has said. It's big news this morning with what Damasio has said. And it would be ridiculous to ignore it, Twisted Bubba. But again, if you don't like it, my friend, you just don't need to be here. It's completely and utterly up to you. Let's have a little look here. The left wing is more important for me because it's guaranteed that Havertz will be starting the first few games. I don't think you could... Listen, I got called out yesterday by a lot of people in the comment section. I'm talking about this community. I'm not too sure if there's any noise outside of our communities because I just don't follow it really. But I stand by what I said. I do think those opening fixtures are about a media agenda or about creating noise. What I don't think they're about, and I have reiterated this. I can understand how the first video I did yesterday, maybe people felt that's what I was implying. And it's fair to call me out for things they think I've implied. But I've clarified now. Arsenal don't have any excuse to not challenge for the league title. Man United don't have any excuse to not improve. I believe the fixtures that were set up the way they were is about creating drama, and it sets up narratives both. And this is the bit that was so beautifully ignored for both positive and negative. And a very, very well, I thought I articulated that quite well. Now, when it comes to Arsenal, I do think a number 9 is still your most important position. I get that Kai Havertz might start the season, but it's a 38-game season. That's why I mentioned what I said yesterday. The start doesn't win or lose you the league. Maybe if you lost your opening 6 games and City and Liverpool win their opening 6 games, you could argue that. But it's very unlikely to happen, even with the start that you have. So I do still think the number 9 is the most important position. But the left wing is such a interesting area for Arsenal. And I say that because the news this morning, and it brings us very nicely into this section of the show, so thank you very much for your comment, is that Nico Williams has agreed, and I'm going to make sure I read this here correctly, but Nico Williams, according to Fabrizio Romano, has agreed personal terms on a 6-year deal. The deal will seal the player's contract until 2031, with the salary in the region of 8 to 9 million net per year, which is very high. It's very, very high. And it's a very high and a very good wage. And he should, he'll be very, very proud of that. But what it does mean is that the chances now of Arsenal getting him are exceedingly slim. It would take maybe the financial issues. It would take all of that to probably stop this deal from progressing, to stop this deal from happening, as we've explained before. What is, if that's net, let's take a little look here, right? Let's do that in pounds, just so we can kind of, it makes it a bit easier for me to understand. Let's just do 8 million. That's around 6 million net a year. It's not bad, So let's have a little look at what that works out per week. So 6.8 million. It really isn't that huge. So after tax, oh no, it is actually. No, I can't be right what I've just done there. No, let's go divide it by 12, not 52, you idiot. So 6.8 million a year net divided by 52 weeks, 130,000. I don't know what the tax percentages are, but you're probably looking at, let's just say add 50% to it. So you're looking around 250,000 a week, maybe even less than that, maybe nearer the 200,000 mark. It's pretty good going. And of course, the reports are that he dropped his wage demands so that he could join Barcelona, because that's where he wanted to be. So listen, fair play to him. He's chased that. But Arsenal now need to motor. And I said this last night, and I'll say it again in case you weren't tuning in. I don't think Arsenal can stand on ceremony. And I also agree exactly the same when it comes to the situation with Arsenal's attempt to sign a striker. I think they've now got to start moving this deal on, because Liverpool are going to come in. There is no doubt about it in my mind. Liverpool are going to come in and they are going to push hard, and Liverpool are going to try and sign Alexander Isak. We spoke about that last night. That means that Newcastle now are going to start their due diligence for a new striker. Liverpool are also going to start their work on a backup. They've already done a little bit of inquiries into Ekitike and Šeško. So Arsenal need to be mindful that whether Isak leaves or stays, there's another player now about to enter the market for strikers. And they need to move. In my personal opinion, the left-hand side now is becoming a little bit more. Now there'll be some people going, Terry, but some Arsenal fans have been saying this for 3 or 4 weeks. Well, just because you said it first doesn't mean you were saying it at the right time. At the end of the day, there's an hour's drive to get to work, but I'm a little worried about traffic, and I have to be at work by 10 a.m. I agree leaving it until 9 o'clock to leave is risky in case you hit traffic. But someone sitting there going, you've got to leave at 5 a.m., bro. You've got to leave at 5 a.m. if you want to miss that traffic, is ridiculous. Because even with heavy traffic, it might only take 2 hours. So you're not just right because you said it first, right? You've got to look at the timing. Leaving at 5 a.m. is is an exaggeration to avoid being late. You end up there at 6 o'clock and you sit in your car for 4 hours before work. It's just a ridiculous notion. But Arsenal have got to start motoring forward now. And as I say, especially in that left-hand side of attack, because Williams and Sane that were on their list have gone. Gittins was on their list. He has gone. So I do think that's an area that Arsenal need to motor on forward with. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Let's do some more of your comments here. Lou, good morning. Hope you are well. Everyone who thinks those fixtures are completely computer generated and not manipulated by the league are innocent innocent or willfully ignorant. Yeah, look, I look at it this way about the fixtures, and it's only something that was put into my mind about a year or so ago. I don't believe they're completely random. I don't. But at the same time, what people are doing is people are saying, I can't allow this to be said. If United or Arsenal have bad starts of the season, bad seasons, I can't have it be said that it's because of the fixtures when we all play the same teams. I'm not having it. No one's talking about it ruining anybody's season. Not anybody with a brain. What the smart people are talking about is the fact that we just believe it's a little bit convenient. Just a little bit convenient, I would say. And the irony is most people that are calling it out are only calling it out because it's United and Arsenal fans saying it, or they hate their own clubs. If this was any other direction, they'd be saying, these are the kind of people that call out conspiracies all the time. And again, I don't think it's a conspiracy to ruin anybody. I just think the build up to this game, the narratives, because out of all of the top 6 clubs that get the majority of the attention, they're the only 2 managers who are under pressure from the first kick of the first game. And what I mean under pressure is a couple of bad results and the narrative will be toxic. Equally, and I've said this a few times, if they start well with these fixtures, there will also be an over-egging and an over-praising. And my word to both sets of fans is do not get dragged in. Do not get dragged into it. Stay balanced. Tread water nicely. Stay relaxed. You'll survive longer than everybody else that's splashing around being picked off by sharks. I can assure you. Why not a Gyokeres, Šeško, Saka front line? Not going to work, in my personal opinion. Terry, I told Man United to go get Ollie Watkins. Listen, I don't mind Ollie Watkins. If that's what we end up with, I agree. I'll be happy. Drama sells. Of course it sells. 100% it sells. And everybody knows it. But they don't want to admit it. Because if you're an Arteta outer and you admit that it looks fishy, it's, again, the amoebas that live in that world, the sort of pond dwellers, will go, it's excuses. Nobody with there might be some Arsenal fans using it as an excuse. They're also in the pond. You're all just in your little filthy little pond flapping about being crazy, thinking of rotten water and fish. The rest of us are having a grown-up conversation. I do believe that when they put certain fixtures on, I do believe that I do believe that when it comes to generating opening game fixtures, or when they decide to put them on TV, there's always a view of what's going to get the best views, what can we create narratives about, what order can we put things in. You see them do it before where, okay, we've had to cancel a game because of COVID. When are we going to put this match? Or there's these 3 weeks where we can put the game in midweek, but there's no other games on. It'd be a nice open slot. Or we can leave it an extra month and stick it there. So suddenly a team's going to get 3 games in 12 days. I believe they stick it to be 12 games in 3 days because it creates anxiousness and anger from the manager. He then says things, they can create headlines from it. The fans moan, they create headlines from it. I do think there is planning in this. And by the way, the people saying there isn't, watch them next season. Just think of any YouTuber saying that. I don't know who agrees with me. I don't know who disagrees with me. I've not watched any content on it at all. But I'm telling you now, the people that disagree and saying, shut up, you're crazy, will be the same people next season talking about Sky having their agendas, saying, oh, they're lying to you. There'll be the same people that will say there's no such thing as a top 4 race. It's the top 4 race, and the top 6 as a concept was created by the media to create drama. They're the same people saying that there's no way that the Premier League and TV companies would do this with fixtures or the times of games. Start deeping it. The only reason they're pushing back on this one is because it's Arsenal and Man United. If it was Chelsea and Liverpool in United and Arsenal situation, the Premier League's doing the same. It's not a targeted approach of our clubs. It's just the scenarios that we find ourselves in. 110% in my opinion. 110%. They even talk about the drama in their broadcast. It's 100% a consideration. Of course it is. Of course it is. And even when they go to watch matches, I know this happens for a fact. The producers of the show put together talking points before the game. Of course, there can sometimes be a massive something happens in the game, but it will be right. Let's talk about. We're gonna focus on. We want after the game. If United lose today, we're going to pick one of these three players: Bruno, Rashford, Maguire. It's likely one of them, if United lose, have a bad game. We're going to think about some things that have happened recently, and we're going to spin it as in like maybe those bad things help lead to today's bad result. Equally, they protect themselves and go, but if they win, we can say that was really good leadership or really good attitude because these bad things happened and he's rescued himself and they're winning. Of course, they plan these things. It's all part of making it a drama series. At the same time, we know it exists. It's crazy. Anyway, let's move on from there. What part of football? Again, I didn't say it was corrupt because you've got everyone has to play each other 38 times. I've not said the word corruption. I don't believe in all of this. If I have, then I've misspoken. I'm talking about creating media drama, creating media agendas, and I get why they do it. It sells and makes billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of pounds. To believe there isn't an element of it's easier to do in the fighting world that I watch because they pick certain they pick the fights. Tennis, they preordain it. Because of the way the seeding system works, you rarely get the best two players in the world on the same side of a draw. And that's kind of intertwined into how it's done. But it's convenient, isn't it? And I get why they do it. But when Federer and Nadal are the best two in the world, they would only ever really meet in a final because of where they started, because of their rankings. But it's because they want to create that build up to a massive crescendo. That's what they're doing, and I understand it. I understand it. You don't want Nadal Federer in the first game of Wimbledon. You want it semi-finals or final. You build up the whole story. The whole 2 weeks sells to this point. It makes sense. It makes sense to do it. Damn, you missed. We'll play the Gyokeres update again. Then we're going to talk about Emi Martinez as well. So let's play the update from Alex Crook. Let's take a little listen to what he said in case you're just tuning in now.
You got Andy Robertson, Gyokeres, Sesko, Nunez, Isaac. What's the latest on all of these?
Well, again, I had a message 24 hours or so ago suggesting that Victor Gyokeres has told friends and family he expects to join Arsenal. We know that Manchester United are interested in signing him as well. Obviously, there is that pre-existing relationship with Ruben Amorim, but Arsenal can offer Champions League football, maybe can offer a tilt at the title next season. But Sporting are going to play hardball. There's been a fallout between Gyokeres and the club because his agent has suggested that they had a gentleman's agreement he could leave for £60 million. I think they're looking for nearer £80 million. Arsenal juggling both him and Benjamin Šeško. They've opened talk with Leipzig as well. But at the moment, I would say Gyokeres looks the more likely. In terms of Liverpool.
So that's the update from him. Plus, there was a bit of information put out by Damasio last night that the player has agreed terms with Arsenal and is waiting. He is essentially waiting to fly to London to do his medical and complete the deal. And of course, until that point, it says he will do nothing but wait for the two clubs to have an agreement, which again, I also think is positive for Arsenal if this indeed is true. And I didn't touch on this earlier, but it just popped into my mind now. If he's going to do nothing, it means he isn't going to change his mind at any time soon. He's waiting for Arsenal. United can't change his mind. Again, that's according to Damasio. Doesn't mean it's 100%, but it's another update that really goes along with the party line. I get, though, it's confusing for Arsenal fans. And, you know, we spoke yesterday morning. There were reports from Germany that personal terms with Šeško were agreed. We also said in the show that other reports in Germany were saying they haven't been totally agreed. But the ones that say they've not been agreed then go on to say, but personal terms are not seen as to be a problem. And I just sit there and go, well, that just means the same thing. You're playing semantics with fans. Šeško wants to join Arsenal. Gyokeres wants to join Arsenal. The club are negotiating with both. This is cast iron. In other news this morning, and I really want to get Arsenal fans' opinions on this because he was at your club. Villa fans, the poor kid is waiting. I hear you, but I don't suppose he minds too much. But this update has come out around Emi Martinez. This comes from a report from South America that says Manchester United have made their first formal contract offer to Emi Martinez's agent over a transfer. United want him as their number one goalkeeper. Martinez and his family want to stay in London. This also coincides with Ben Jacobs, along with a number of other media outlets late last night claiming and stating that Emi Martinez wants to become a Manchester United player, wants this move. Now, at the moment, Aston Villa are saying have also said they're willing to do the deal. They have to raise money. They overspent colossally last season in a pursuit to win the Champions League and to re-qualify for the tournament. And they fouled at both goals. Of course, winning the Champions League was deemed harder than winning was deemed harder than qualifying via the league with 5 places available, and that defeat to Manchester United on the final day of the season. Ironically, in all of this, that foul from Emi Martinez probably is what cost them in the end. I mean, they dropped points in other games. You can't just narrow it down to one, but had he not got sent off, I really do think Aston Villa go on to win that game. Was he doing that as a as a gesture to his new club? That'll be the conspiracy theory. The irony will be that will start being said about the same people saying that the Premier League wouldn't manufacture a few fixtures for drama. That's the fucking irony of these people. But he wants Man United, and Man United want him, according to, again, multiple sources. Now, finding a resolution to the situation in relation to Onana, I think is going to be so key. I think is going to be so important for us in terms of getting this deal done and getting it over the line. But I like this link. I do think 40 million is a little steep. So I also understand why we're not. And again, people go, we should have sold Onana by now. Let's see what happens in the end. But I don't rate Onana, but we'd be crazy to sell him now whilst negotiating for Emi Martinez when we don't want to pay 40 million, when we want to pay around 20 to 25. Because if our number one goalkeeper leaves, we lose strength in the negotiations for Martinez because Villa know we absolutely need a goalie because Onana's gone. We need one anyway, but we still have a number one goalkeeper. The club are very publicly stating that they're not even sure if they want to move on from him. But there's too many links to Martinez. There's been too many stories about Martinez now for 3 to 4 weeks. But any self-respecting, intelligent Manchester United fan to think the club are genuinely, bona fiably, 1,000% convinced that Onana is the number one next year. Because again, like we've spoken about before when it comes to Liverpool to Isak, if that deal for the past 3 or 4 months, since it's really been discussed, had no chance, 0 chance, very unlikely, no way it would happen, it would be shut down and it would be sort of just spoken about in that way of impossible, no chance, not going to happen. And that's not been the case. The same with Emi Martinez and Fabrizio. Listen, some people like Fab, millions like Fab, some don't. But what he does very, very well is he covers himself. He covers himself in the sense of United won't sign a goalkeeper until they decide what they're going to do with Onana. He's towing that party line for the club. That message is being pushed out by Fabrizio via somebody at Manchester United. We haven't decided whether we want to even sell our goalkeeper yet. In theory, that means we should get a little bit more for him in the market, or at least maximize his value, which of course is decreased because he's been a flop for Man United. But when it comes to Emi Martinez, I really like him. I really, really like him. I really do like him indeed. I think he's an excellent goalkeeper. Best in the world, as some people have claimed before. No, I wouldn't quite put him on that echelon, that step of the ladder. But I think he's a very good to borderline world-class goalkeeper. And 40 million is too much. I want to pay less than that. But let's say we pay 25, 30 million. I think for the next 2 to 3 seasons, as we're integrating and creating this new system and hopefully progressing as a side, he'll be an amazing stopgap. I think he'd be an amazing stopgap for us for 2 to 3 years. Of course, there are some moments, and people, again, there'll be compilations going out of his mistakes, but you can do them for the best goalie in the world, Alisson. I don't believe he'll cost us 10 games a season like Onana does, if I'm being absolutely honest. He'll have his moments because he can be erratic, but his erratic nature is also one of the reasons why he's such an amazing shot stopper, an amazing penalty saver, and I want him. It's as simple as straightforward as that for me. I think it's a brilliant signing, and I would love him to become a Manchester United player. I really, really would. But give me your thoughts. Give me your opinions in the comments section. Rob here says, yeah, he's definitely better than Onana. I agree. Let's have a look at some of your comments. Do we have confirmation on how many games he's banned for next season? Yeah, it's one. It's the first game of the season he's banned for. That's it. Just one. The only time you get a three-game ban is for violent conduct or serious foul play. When you are sent off for 2 yellow cards, or when you are sent off for denying a clear goal-scoring opportunity, I think when you handball it off the line, that is dog so as well. They're all 1-game bans. He'll miss the opening game of the season against Arsenal, which again would be unfortunate. But again, you've got to look beyond just the opening. I've seen a few United fans say, we can't sign him because he can't play the first game of the season. I think that is a crazy notion, an absolutely crazy notion indeed to have. I really, really do. A really, really crazy notion to have. This here says, T, what are we doing with Mason Mount, who is a huge wage and always injured? There's very little we can do with Mason Mount at the moment. Big wage, hard to move on, not too many suitors. So what the club are going to have to do is talk nicely about him, praise him. What Man United fans need to do is understand that's all part of the game. We need to try and keep him fit as much as we can for a season. We need to utilize him where possible so that we're able to at least sustain where his valuation has dropped down to. We have to get to a point where we can show clubs that he can stay fit, and then Man United will seek an option for him. So, again, if United fans want to be supporters of their club, don't panic when the manager says he loves Mason Mount. I wouldn't panic at that point. If he's starting him every week over better players, then complain. And if he isn't delivering, but I'm not worried about what they say. But it's very hard to find somewhere for him. Let Arsenal fans fall behind for all we care. Oh, you mean in terms of playing a replay? I like to do replays of what we've spoken about on these shows. I really, really do. Comedy here says, Terry be like Šeško to Arsenal deal agreed. Then later on, Gyokeres to Arsenal deal agreed. How many times have you... again, Comedy Star TV. It's not my news. I'm not making the claim. And this will be, and I mean this, the last time. I'm not going to make that claim because I might have to explain to someone that's a nice person. This is the last time I've ever responded to a troll about this. Football fan channels report on the news. We're not claiming it to be our story. So if Alex Crook goes, or Fabrizio or Ornstein goes on camera today and says, my sources tell me Šeško to Arsenal is the main target, that will be the done deal, personal terms agreed, nobody else. And 2 hours later say Gyokeres to Arsenal is now close. That is what I've said all along. You're right to call them out. How has their world changed so dramatically? Fan channels are not mainstream media outlets, and I am not claiming to be or to have a source. I am showing you what the media is saying and giving you, the fans, the chance to give your opinion on the stories and the players. You can, of course, have an opinion on me. If you think you should just not talk about transfers until they're done, that's fine, but you don't need to be here to watch that. If you're here, like the other almost 2,000 people watching and the multiple millions that watch each month, 99.9% understand what fan channels are. We essentially aggregate the news, and then we give opinions on it, and we give the fans the chance, like this show in a minute, to phone in and have their say. That's it. If you don't like it, fuck off. I'm not going to change reporting on the news the way that I do for nobody. Whether you're abusive, aggressive, even if you come to my face and threaten me, which none of you will ever have the balls to do, I won't change. My community grows all the time. My community likes this. when I was a bit younger and more of a fledgling in this space, I used to go, oh, maybe people are angry about the way we cover the news. You know, one day it's this player, the next day it's another. And then I realized, no, you wouldn't get the likes on the videos. You wouldn't get the returning viewers. You wouldn't get the growth of subscribers. You wouldn't get the average view time of 40 odd minutes for an hour show if people didn't understand what we're doing. So what I've learned to do as I've got older and matured is to work towards giving the silent majority what they want versus the noisy minority who most of them would dislike anything that I do. Anything. So thank you. But if you don't like what we do, you don't have to be here. You don't ever need to click on out. You know what the Football Terrace is? You always get those lies that go, oh, I keep blocking your channel and I keep seeing it on my feed. Well, that's either one of two things. It's either you're blocking it but still searching it and coming on here and commenting, or you're lying. You don't need to be here. See you later. But there we go. I just thought I'd address that because it is what it is. I don't make the news up. I wish it was all consistent and the same, but it isn't. And that's why we have these conversations. It's talking about transfers. It's not personal. No, exactly. You know, I'm not sitting there and going, right, guys, I spoke to my source. He told me this. The next day, my source told me something different. Every now and then I speak to journalists privately that ask me not to share who they are because you guys know most of them. And we'll talk about that. But we're a fan channel. We aggregate news. Lawrence here said, yesterday the headlines were that Arsenal would agree terms. Yes, but this is why you watch the content. Don't just read the headlines. Again, I will say this, and it's something that I listened to Joe Rogan talk about, and he's right. And I'm not saying this is you, Lawrence, but the epitome of stupid is reading a headline and thinking you understand the story. So yesterday morning, there was 2 or 3 outlets in Germany saying personal terms of Šeško were agreed. But you watch our show, we showed those. We didn't actually show them on the screen. I didn't do the overlays, but we spoke about those links. We also presented that there are contrary to this. We also presented that there are differing reports about the Gyokeres situation, but it's keeping people up to date with what's going on a day-to-day basis. It's as simple and as straightforward as that. That's all it is. And I think there's nothing to be confused about because it's so well documented that Arsenal were working on both deals simultaneously. The only element that you can call confusing, worrying, or stressful is that your club seemingly haven't decided which one they're making their number one priority. That's the only bit. The rest of it is all very clear and open, I think, Lawrence. I really do think it's simple to follow. If we don't get Victor G, who do we go for? I assume you're a Man United fan saying that because for Arsenal, it's obvious. It's Šeško. For me, look, we're looking at Ekitike. There's been some reports, are a little bit muted at the moment, but some reports to Mateta, who I quite like, but Ekitike has been a name. Let's see what happens with Isak and Liverpool. Because if Isak is to go to Liverpool and Arsenal do get Gyokeres, the Šeško deal opens itself up. So, yeah, it's interesting. Alex Crook also said that Mbeumo was earning 250k a week. Yes, and this is the thing. I don't disregard it. I didn't believe that report because of other ones. But this is the irony with you. I became a City fan yesterday. You believe that report. Today, you don't believe him because it's positive about Arsenal. That's not how I operate. See, this is the thing, right? I will tell you my biases openly, as in which players I like, which players I don't rate. I will tell you which journalists I think are more credible than others. So my bias is already out there. But I still report on both sides of the news because I don't completely disregard them. That way, again, most people with a brain or most honest people will say, do you know what? I know the way Terry thinks. I know what he prefers. I know what he likes. I know who he thinks more credible, but he talks about both sides of the story. Hopefully it comes across like I present it as balanced as possible. I give my opinion. You can give yours and it's great. The irony in all of this is the people that try to call me out are often the individuals who pretend they're unbiased, say they just speak straight facts, say this. Ironically, that's why I named my show Straight Facts. It really is a dig at these people and people don't understand that. I love it. But yet, act like they're not biased and they just call things out as they are. But we, their viewers, or we people that see their content, we see their biases come through. Everything's about how do I attack this team? How do I attack this manager? How do I attack this YouTuber? And one day, Alex Crook is given the gospel truth. The next day is a lying piece of shit. Where with me, I'm like, I don't believe this story, but it could be true. I believe this story, but maybe it's wrong. I think there's a difference in that. So, yeah, listen, my friend, I'm not going to be drawn out by that. If you don't like it, again, you don't need to be here, but you show up every single week. Flowers. That's been called that since I was a kid. It's a great joke. That's why I always laugh when people call me it, because it always makes me laugh. My dad laughed when he sees it, because he's like, that's what used to get called at junior school and infant school. I'm like, yeah, men don't grow up, do they? How can you change your history so quick? I don't know what that means. Ad hominem attacks. Yeah, of course. And again, generally in life, as soon as somebody starts doing ad hominem attacks, you know that you're right, generally speaking. Of course, people get that like button smashed. Get that done, please, people. Get that like button smashed right about now. Terry just reads out each club's transfer news. Yeah, and I'm a bastard for doing it. Yeah, I'm a bastard. I don't know why, but I am. In regards to Victor and Šeško, I want both, and Rodrigo and Zubi. Hopefully we can get those 4. Hato, if we can. That would be an amazing summer if you could get that, Krishna. That would be a tip-top summer indeed. Now, if anybody wants to phone in and have their say, we're going to open up the lines for you guys to call in. I'm just going to get the link shared now into the live chat. We'll take a few calls this morning. Be nice to hear from some of you, what's going on, etc., 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 etc. Did I copy that? No, I didn't. I didn't copy the link. Let me paste the link. Oh, that's why. No, I did paste the link. I just didn't set, because what I now do to make it quicker is I have all the different things that I post in the comment sections written up, typed up on a Word doc. That way I can just copy and paste the new link into it, and it saves me sitting there typing. But I just opened up Word and it wasn't ready. I pinned it. So if you guys want to phone in, that'd be amazing. I'd love to hear from you all today and give your thoughts on these stories. But Emi Martinez to Man United, according to reports, an offer has been made. Is that the right move? If we get him, how does that make fans feel about Man United summer? Because there's still a lot of scrutiny from United fans around it. Give us your opinions on that. Arsenal, Gyokeres, 2 further reports today around personal terms and his expectations of becoming an Arsenal player. And if what Alex Crook has said is true, that he's told friends and family this, that must mean that Arsenal have told him it's the case. Are Arsenal just slowing down because they're waiting for this price to be resolved between the agent and Sporting? Or are they still pushing hard for Šeško as the number 1 target, and that's why they've slowed down the Gyokeres talks? I want your opinions on this, people. I want to know what you think. I want to know what you feel right now in the comments section or through the calls. Lou's listening just from work today. Big up yourself, Lou, and I hope you have a wonderful day. It's a beautiful warm day. Took the dog out for a walk this morning. It's very, very hot. That's why I take him out in the morning, because he can't go for walks in the day, because he's a 55-kilo German Shepherd with black fur, and the heat. Like yesterday, I bought this. Actually, got it in my office right now. I hope you can't hear it. It's like an air conditioning unit. And I set it up, and all he's been doing for 2 days is laying directly in front of it. The poor boy is boiling. But yeah, I took him out this morning. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. Right, first on the show with us, we're going to be getting Chris on the show with us to talk. I think Chris is an Arsenal fan. I think. I'm not too sure. But Chris, welcome back to the show. Yes, he is. I can see the Arsenal shirt. Welcome, friend. What do you want to say, brother?
I've come to eat humble pie. The last time I came on the show, I said that if we didn't get Gyokeres, it would be because he rejected us. And it proves me wrong.
How happy are you with the progression of this deal? And do you see him now as your number 1 target? Like, where's your head at with this scenario?
Oh. Jake, calm down. Sorry about that. I'm calm, Terry. I remember the days of getting transfer news from the newspapers and CFAT. So, you know, the fact you can see progression is enough for me. We might still not get him. That's the way transfers work. You can't. It's not like going to the shop and picking Gyokeres up off the shelf and taking it to the checkout.
Yes.
You know, there's way, way more complications involved. So I'm calm. Either we get him or we don't. But he's chosen us. I said, if we didn't get him, that would be because he rejected us. I was wrong.
Yeah, and listen, we all get predictions wrong when it comes to transfers. There's no doubt about it. But It seems like it may happen. Is he your preferred choice over Šeško? I mean, there's a big debate within the Arsenal fan base around which one you should or shouldn't go for. Where's your head at with this?
I said before I prefer Gyokeres over Šeško, but I'd be happy to have a striker, basically. So if we get Šeško, I'm not going to be upset. But my preferred choice is definitely Gyokeres. He's more of a win now target. The numbers that he's been getting over in Sporting outweighs the numbers that Šeško has been getting at Leipzig. But getting Šeško is more of a future sort of deal, not necessarily a win now deal. It's a win future deal because of the age profile. So I prefer Gyokeres in the sense I want to win. But if Arteta and the rest of the heads at Arsenal decide to go the other way, then I've got to live with that.
Yeah, I understand that.
At the end of the day, it's not my choice.
Yeah. I understand that. Chris, great call, my friend. Thank you for coming on, and we'll chat to you again soon, my friend. Take care.
No worries. Cheers, Terry.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. Big up, Chris. Adele is with us. What are you saying, Adele?
Hey, T, how are you? All good?
I'm very, very well. A little warm, but I'll survive. Emi Martinez to Man United. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I think that Onana and Rasmus Højlund last season, they cost us around 18 to 20 points. So I think it's a very necessary deal to put through. However, if Emi Martinez, I personally, I don't like him as an attitude kind of person, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we should look elsewhere as well, right? I don't think Onana wants to go per se. We are not hearing anything from his agents moving him or so on and so forth. I'm not sure what his camp is going about those days. But also with the striker predicament here, most probably we're not going to get Gyokeres, right? Ekitike as well, I think he's too expensive, but I would love to ask the guys who are working on the transfers for United, why aren't we looking at the likes of Wisa, for example, from the Bees? He is proven, he's scored, I think, 20 odd goals last season. And there's a chemistry between him and Mbeumo as well, so why not, right?
Yeah, look, I think there's part of that. I think look, they're hard enough to negotiate one deal with Brentford. Getting two players from them to the same club, it's hard to do that. One, I think because they don't want to lose both. Secondly, there's almost like there's a PR element to the fan. To lose two to one club is difficult. Plus, I think that we've got our eyes set on an out-and-out number 9. What I did read yesterday is that United do see Cunha and Mbeumo as having the ability to rotate into that 9 role for certain games or for certain periods of the season, not as the regular out-and-out number 9. So I think with those two, plus the desire to find an out-and-out number 9, you're probably not looking at Wissa. But I do think he's a good player, and maybe if Ekitike can't happen and Gyokeres doesn't happen and Mateta can't happen, then Wissa is something the club could look at later in the window. But I think right now, what they want is an out-and-out player.
But the thing is, Cunha and Mbeumo, if we manage to seal Mbeumo before the preseason, they are not natural number 9s, right? So we will be in the same predicament come next season, and we're going to be fighting ourselves as well. Because we have spent too much money with people who are not doing what they should do or what they were bought in to do, if you know what I mean, right? You should consider that.
No, I listen. I understand it, but this is the thing. That's their profile. They can play number 9. So the report said United are not looking to make Mbeumo or Cunha their out and out number 9 to play there all the time. It's that their versatility is there, because there are some games where United may think, well, we need more of a false 9 today, and we're going to play
And that's Bruno, I think, or Xerxes, or
but it
right?
can be all of them, can't it? What this is what United fans have, I think we've got to get this into our heads. We can't have a situation. Well, Bruno's not a very good false nine, to be fair. But let's say Xerxes can play it. What if Xerxes out injured? Say it becomes part of our system for certain games or at certain periods of games. Maybe it's something we introduce as a sub, where we make changes and we go to a false nine in games to change it up. If we only have if we only use one player in that role, Xerxes, and he gets injured, that whole part of our system falls apart. So you need multiple players that have the capability of moving into that role. It doesn't mean that Cunha is going to start as a number 9 for 30 of the 38 games. It means he may start 2 or 3 games there. He may get moved into that position as a sub on 4 or 5 occasions, as an example. I want that versatility in our team because although Amorim is rigid with his formation,
And rightfully so.
Yes, but he's very fluid with the actions of players within those, and we saw it last year.
Yeah.
Where when Garnacho played in the left 10, he drifted out wide. But if anybody else played there, like Bruno or Xerxes, they stayed central. And it was the width came from the wing back. So that for me is why I like these players that we're linked to, because there is a versatility. But what I also want is a specialist who is an out-and-out 9, because it gives you a greater variety to your attack. If we just had all of our 9s, if we had like 3 out-and-out 9s and 2 10s, we'd be in trouble with injuries in those 10 roles. I think we need that mixture. But listen, Adele, great call, my friend. Really appreciate you coming on. And I'll speak to you again soon. Top man. Thank you. Leif, is it pronounced Leif?
Yeah, it's close enough.
Close enough. Sorry, I do apologize. Remind everybody who you support, mate.
Arsenal.
Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
Love what you here to say, brother.
I just want to say that the most important thing for me in the summer that Arsenal gets some big names. We need a moral boost now for the club, the fans, the players. Also, they've been second now 3 times in a row. I think it's very important now that we get a big name over the line. So whether it be Šeško or Gyokeres right now is same for me, but I'd really want Rodrigo especially.
Yeah, Rodrigo would be excellent. Did you watch him last night at all?
No, it was too late for me.
Sorry, people are telling me there's some breaking news. I can't find what they're looking for though. Victor has privately revealed what Premier League club he expects to make. Well, yeah, we just spoke about that. I can't see any other posts. But yes, what's your thoughts on the striker market?
Yeah, we need more actually. If it's Gyokeres or Šeško, I think is the most important. We get the numbers. For me, Gyokeres will be the preferred one. It's more like all these games we are struggling to get a goal. I feel like we need something different on top. For me, Šeško is too close or similar to Kai Havertz in the playing style. So to just have a different something to put on when the game is breaking or when it's a close one would be my. So it's more a tactical thing that I want to Gyokeres. I've seen him at Sweden also national team and. A couple of games with Sporting, and he has the quality to sniff out just a half a chance. We are missing that quality a lot in Arsenal right now.
Yeah, so I like Šeško. I think there's an excellent player in there. I just think Gyokeres is better. Yeah. And that's it. I think both excellent. Gyokeres is better. Let's see what you do. Bro, thank you for calling in. I really do appreciate it, mate. Thank you for having me on. Thank you. No problem. Cal's Corner is on with us now. Cal, what you saying, brother?
Hey, what's up?
I'm very good. Remind everybody who you support, please.
Oh yeah, I support Arsenal.
Lovely. Fan. What are you here to say?
Well, first off, pretty stoked on the Gyokeres stuff. It's like because we've been going back and forth so much just within the fan base, we're pretty anxious and we don't know who we're actually gonna get. But based on how Gyokeres is acting, unless he's a moron, I think he's been told that Arsenal's gave him some assurances because he rejected United, and it just doesn't make any sense for him to say to straight up tell United, "Hey, Arsenal's my preferred option," just straight off the bat. Yeah. Especially when you look at what United's doing in the market in terms of Cunha, Mbeumo, Gyokeres is a good front three. Like joining something like that with some is just exciting, especially if you're coming from Sporting. And then he's also rejected Juventus as well. So you just don't do that if you're coming from Sporting. If you didn't get some sort of assurances, if Arsenal,
Yeah.
I feel like if Arsenal don't get Gyokeres, we kind of did one on him, to be honest. That's my feeling.
No,
And,
I agree with you. I really do agree with you. I think that the only way you don't get Gyokeres now is if you decide to get Šeško. That's it. That's the Arsenal are the only reason you won't get Gyokeres is if you believe that he's a better deal. You could argue if they don't lower the price, you walk away. But I think in the end, you'll do the deal. I think a compromise will be found. I think it'd be on Arsenal to not get this deal done now.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask you about the Emi Martinez link to United because obviously he was an Arsenal keeper, albeit predominantly the backup. He had a period in the first team. There was a lot of frustration from Arsenal fans when he left, especially with your goalkeeping situations until Raya. How good a signing or bad of a signing maybe do you think that would be for Manchester United?
I think for Manchester United specifically, and I think when people talk about Manchester United now, they don't talk about Manchester United in context, or they don't think about the squad, the position, and what Manchester United really needs. Like Emi Martinez is like an exponential upgrade on Onana. He just is, and he doesn't have the same bozo gene like Onana does. And I think just by not having Onana in goal, your defense is just going to get better, just by default, because there's a level of trust that a keeper has with your back line.
Yes.
And we saw it when Raya came in. And, when Raya came in for Arsenal, it's a big kerfuffle because people were saying, why are you replacing him? But since Raya's come in, our defense have actually improved because he's so comfortable and he makes our defenders very comfortable. And I think Emi Martinez is a good keeper. He's a really good keeper. And he's just a much better goalkeeper than Onana. And if he comes in there, you're going to see the best out of, Lenny Euro. And you're just going to see your entire back four just play better football. I think it's great. It's a great signing, in my opinion. And I don't know what the fee was quoted for him. I don't know how much it was.
Well, they're saying they want 40 million. United are pushing for 25. So right now, let's just say we get him somewhere in the middle and say about 32, 33.
For me personally, I think that's a great deal because I think that's one of the key positions. And I don't think Manchester United is in a position where you can get the best keeper in the world. I think if Martinez is like a stopgap for like 2 or 3 years, and then say Manchester United starts consistently hitting top 4 and maybe challenging again, then you go out there and get your big dollar goalkeeper signing. But for a stopgap, I think it's excellent business. Personally, I think you should be getting that deal done because I can't see any other keeper, especially because of his Premier League experience. And I mean, he is a World Cup winner. I think the only problem with him is his ego, and people just don't like him. Let's be honest. People just don't like him. But I think if you just talk about the football, I think you should be getting him. And I think it's the obvious choice.
Yeah, I like him. KJ's backstage. KJ's actually backstage here doing his nut. You don't agree, do you, KJ?
No.
Really? You don't like Martinez?
KJ just went and put a t-shirt on to come back just to challenge you. I see him.
Right, listen. Emi Martinez is a good goalkeeper, but he's very, very overrated. And for 40 million pounds for a goalkeeper is not a stopgap price tag.
No, I would go max 35. Max 35.
Yeah, no, even 35 for me is too much. Like if you said to me, you're getting Emi Martinez for whatever reason for 15 to 20 million, and he's a stopgap, then I would take that because I'm like, you know what? He's a quality goalkeeper for that price. You would take that. Like look at Mike Maignan for a few years for what 15 to 20 million pounds. I'm taking that for a few years, and then you invest into the superstar goalkeeper that you want further down the line. But we've just spent 45 to 50 million on Onana, and to be honest, if we're going to get rid of him to bring in another goalkeeper for £40 million, he has to be the one, not a guy who's, like I said, his ego is crazy. Okay,
Yeah,
his ego is crazy, and then also he makes blunders on a daily, weekly basis for Villa. But because he plays for Villa, it's not picked up as much. You know, I've seen some. Obviously, I live local to Villa, so I watch their games. I've seen them live a few times in the last few years. So I've seen some of his games, and it's like, this is not it. He's not that guy.
What do you say he makes blunders? What do you mean? Is it like, is he just, he
Well-
can't, is it like mistakes
well,
when
for
they pass
one-
back to him, or?
No. For one, you got him running out of goal and tackling Rasmus Højlund. So there's just one.
He did that to help us, bro. He did to help us.
Yeah, obviously he's trying to get a move. So
That was the craziest thing I've ever seen. But yeah,
insane. But like, I mean, when I say blunders, I mean shots that could be saved. He actually doesn't save them sometimes, or makes them harder than it needs to, and that's one of my biggest. Issues with Onana is that they don't make the basic saves, and it makes saves look harder than they should be. And he's great at penalties. Penalties, I'll have no issue with him being in nets. You know, he's great at that. I just don't think he's worth that money. Not 40 million, maybe cheaper.
I think 30 million. I think that's a good buy, honestly. And I think you're a bit harsh, because let's be honest, the types of goals that we've seen Onana concede are actual legendary. Because you know what I'm saying? So I don't think Martinez concede the kind of things that, you know, that Onana concedes.
Maybe okay, so he won't concede them at the comical way and the comical rate that Onana does. But I'm telling you now, for £40 million, we could invest in a cheaper goalkeeper who could probably give us the same amount as Martinez, and then invest further in the squad. And like you say, further down the line, you can get one of the keepers. Like look at Chevalier, look at Le Mans, look at all these different keepers and their trajectory. Let them do their thing at another club and then go sign them. So for me, yeah, that's a no. Go and get Milinkovic-Savic from Torino. 20 million pounds max, apparently, you get for signing him. 28 years old, 6'8". He can do this basic stuff that I want a keeper to do, which is save shots. Then I think that's a decent shout. You know,
Okay,
Mike Maignan, again, a good signing for a cheaper price. You go and do something like that.
One thing to consider: does Emi Martinez suit Amarim's style, though? Is that why they're keen on it?
So
I personally don't know what Amarim's style even is.
Amarim's style doesn't require a keeper to be amazing at passing. That's the one thing that I can say. Like, he doesn't need like an Onana, like a Ten Hag wanted. He doesn't need like an Edison to be spraying balls. He needs a goalkeeper can keep the ball out of the net and can do simple short passes. Because if you watch us, when Onana gets the ball, it's not a quick distribution from him. He takes a lot longer. It's more methodical in the way that we want to build up. So that's not a goalkeeper trait that is seen as a massive thing for me. Like, or for, in my opinion, in Amarim's system, where we need him to be like, all right, cool. As soon as he gets on the ball, he can hit a 60-yarder real quick. Like, we don't really do that. I mean, when we do, it's towards a central point in Højlund. So,
do you know what I want to say about the price of him, though? I just gone and looked here, the most expensive goalkeepers in history, right? So we've got to be very fair when we say this, right? So number 20, I've never heard of this guy. It's Odesi something. 23 million from Forest to Newcastle. That, I don't know what that deal was, but that was last season. I don't even know who he is, but anyway.
Oh, is he the goalkeeper from Benfica?
It must be, right? So you got that. Mendy to Chelsea was 24 million. Jorgensen to Chelsea from Villarreal, 24. David De Gea to Man United was 25 million, but that was 14, 15, nearly 15 years ago now. So that you got inflation. Leno from Leverkusen to Arsenal was 25. Neto Valencia to Barcelona was 26. Alex Moret, Udinese to Napoli was 26.
Yeah, Alex Moret, yeah.
This is really old, but Francisco Toldo, Fiorentina to Inter Milan, that was in 01. He went for 26 million, so that's massive in comparison. Sheffield United to Arsenal, Aaron Ramsdale, number 12, with 28 million for him. Pickford was 28 million, Sunderland to Everton. Manuel Neuer, 30 million. Again, that was 15 years ago to Bayern. the guy that Liverpool signed, him, that's video. Him. That was 30. That was last summer. David Raya, 31 million last year. Courtois, 35 million, Chelsea to Real Madrid. Barcelona signing Jasper Kleesen. That was 6 years ago now. That was 35. Ederson was 40. Onana to Man United was 52 million. Buffon, I mean, imagine this price now. Palmer to Juve, that was 52 million euros in 2001. That's like 150 million now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Alisson was 62 million euros, and obviously Kepa was 80 million. So for me, when I look at that, we well overpaid for Onana. Equally, though, when you look at some of those other excellent deals, like Courtois to Madrid for 35 million euros, we have got to try and get this deal somewhere in the low 20s, I think. Low to mid 20s. That's when it represents the best value for money, because you start going through it and you're like, well, David Raya to Arsenal only cost 30 million. So therefore, that's the whole website I'm on. It may be a bit more, a bit less. But the point is, that's 30 million, and that's a player still in his 20s. I look at it and we can't be paying those 40 million for Martinez.
Yeah, to be honest, even my 35 is a bit of a howler, because I'm like, you sometimes thinking about keepers, you're thinking about just regular footballers. You're not thinking about the going rate of keepers in general. So that's actually a pretty good list to bring up. But I guess to be honest, 25 million seems to be on the money in terms of what you probably should be paying for him because of his experience. Yeah,
and goalkeepers go on a lot longer. I'm not worried about him being 32 because they last that little bit longer. So, but there we go. Let me just check this a second because I may have missed something on here. We're done with these super chats. Look, I want to thank every single person who has tuned into the show. We're going to be live again at 5 p.m. UK time today for the top 6 show. But there has been some breaking news since we've been live, actually, that claims that Brian Mbeumo to Man United is close to being complete. An announcement should be made within the next week from now. That has come from Talk Sport.
The top hijack is off.
Well, there was reports in the last couple of days, and for some reason, I don't know why, but my group chats, nobody was sharing them. Nobody added me when it said that Spurs have called their interest. Like for 4 days, all I heard was they were getting him.
They record their interest, did they? He just said no.
That's the second time in. This is what I don't get about like fans that do this, right? No one ever wants their club to be rejected, and I'm like, you don't realize this is where you don't realize this. If you just want to look at it from a banter point, people always say I try and kill banter. It's like no, because I don't have to do it properly. I'm happy to hold my rejections because that means I have to hold it once for my club. I get to do it 5 times for other people. So I take 1 shot to give 5 out. But yet, if we create this notion that nobody gets rejected, you're literally killing the banter. But yet, I'm the killjoy.
Arsenal got rejected by Nico Williams. It just happens. It just happens.
Terry, I don't know if you got time. There is a special guest backstage. I don't know if you got time for him. He's getting ready for us now.
Is it Ian? Yeah, we'll bring in Cal. Listen, mate, thank you for calling in, mate. I appreciate it. We'll chat to you again soon. Thank you, brother.
Awesome.
Thank you. Ian has joined us. What are you saying, Ian?
I don't know, mate. At the moment, I still believe it. I'm not having any of these reports, though, Tel. Alex Crook, just a couple of points. Sometime in the last 24 hours, if you've got a message, you know the time. 2, from the BTEC Fabrizio, that hasn't been relevant for nearly a decade. I'm not having that either. Until it comes from the mouth of the player or somebody actually relevant, I'll hear it. Jacobs is on the United stand now saying Gyokeres could well still want United. I just don't buy into it. I'm not a panicker. I'm not going to sit here and go, I don't know. I'm definitely not going to do what you say, Tel. I ain't going to sit here and go, he's crap. Arsenal buying a dud, because they're not. They get him. I don't know. I just don't know. It's scary. Liverpool going for Isaac, Arsenal getting that. Please don't say we're going to be left with, that beanpole from Atletico Madrid or something worse. It just isn't any good. Please give us something that's good. Just give us something we want. All these people debating, do we want this player? Do we want that player? Where should we spend the money? We spend the money where we're the worst. Up front, we can't score goals. We can't. But I tell you, I'm not going to be down. I can't do it. I'm going to try to be a bit positive, Tel. I'm going to try to be a bit positive. I'm going to try to have a bit of that KJ mentality. We need to be positive. Don't cry, everybody. It'll happen. Things will get to it. But I am disappointed. But still coming. I still believe it, mate.
You
It
still
really
think
is,
it'll
honestly.
happen?
I do, guys. I do. Do you guys really think it's not going to?
Wait,
Where are you, KJ? I know where Tel sits on it. Where are you?
No, you're talking about Gyokeres to United.
Yeah. Do you think we're dead? We're in the water? Nothing.
No, I think we're lurking. I think we'll always be around because he's a player that Amir really likes. He's a player that obviously he's wanted since I reckon since he got to the club. He said, "Mate, if we're gonna go and get anyone as a striker, it needs to be Victor because I know him and he's excellent." So I think we're around, but I just don't think we'll get him just for the fact that I think Arsenal will. Yeah, I think Arsenal will beat us to him, and that's really about it.
Go on, Terry.
No, go on, mate. Go on. Finish what you're saying.
No, I was going to say, just agree with that point. I'm from the start, and I'll tell you, saw my first talk with Terry a while ago. I'm not unrealistic. I don't think we stand a face-to-face chance of beating Arsenal for it. Our only hope was Amarin.
Yeah.
And that we can go, come on, mate. Our system, the system that scored you all these goals, the man that took you from Coventry and turned you into what you are.
Yeah, I think, Ian, I think our hope is Arsenal picking Šeško personally. That's
100%. 100%. If they decide to go on.
Yeah, mate. Listen, I want to say pleasure. I've got to shoot because I've got an appointment to get to. But I appreciate you coming on. All of the viewers, everyone who's liked, super chatted. Thank you. We're live at 5 p.m. UK time this afternoon. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon. Peace.